Yes, what is happening, everyone? Welcome back to GAA Fan TV, and we are here today, guys, to preview this weekend's Ulster final and Munster final. Two huge games this weekend, of course, in both provincial championships. The Ulster final, of course, as well. Huge match between Cavan and Donegal. Donegal, of course, coming on the back of that huge victory over Tyrone, where they looked very, very impressive. And Cavan, of course, what a season they've had so far. Their huge win over Monaghan, and of course, that fantastic victory in their last game against Armagh, where they had to battle in the first game to get a replay, and then of course in the second game they went ahead and won it. Of course, first of all, guys, if you are new around here, do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. I do appreciate a lot of the comments recently on this channel and a lot of the previews and reviews. So yeah, if we could keep that going, that would be great. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, all that good stuff. And yeah, let's jump into it. First of all, we will talk a bit about the Munster final between Kerry and Cork. Huge battle for both these two counties, of course. This is a game that used to be often a huge traditional rivalry between these two sides, but I feel like in recent years, with the dominance of Kerry and how much Cork have almost fallen off in significant years, in many ways Kerry are very much the dominant side in all aspects, you'd have to say. It wasn't too long ago that Cork, of course, were challenging for the All Ireland. It wasn't too long ago that they were up there or thereabouts. And what a poor year they have had in 2019. Of course, getting relegated from Division 2 into Division 3 for the first time in their history. The good thing is for them is the quality in Munster is so poor at the moment that it's not that difficult to reach a Munster final. I mean, Cork only have to beat Limerick to get here. And they did look very impressive in that game. A 21-point victory over a Limerick team that was going into that game with a lot of confidence following the victory over Tipperary, where they looked very good. So, some of the players who have impressed me for Cork have been Mark Collins, 9 points, of course, in his game against Limerick. And, of course, Brian Hurley has been... he was good in the closing stages of their league campaign, and he's been very impressive in that game versus Limerick as well. But, of course, for Kerry, you would expect them to win this game quite comfortably. You're looking at players like Sean O'Shea, David Clifford. It's a young team still a lot of young players coming through. I do think that the way the Munster Championship is nowadays doesn't help Kerry, because they win the Munster Championship quite easily. And as we seen last year, when they do go ahead and actually reach and play teams of quality like Galway, for example, or Tyrone, those kind of sides, they do struggle, and they do have defeats in them. And I think that is the issue for Kerry, not so much about this game in the Munster Championship, but actually how they will go ahead in the Super 8s, in the coming months. But of course, Kerry should win this. There's absolutely no doubt about it. They have the quality. They haven't had the best year by their standards. I mean, reaching the league final is good, but I don't think you can consider it a success given their history and their tradition. You can't consider it a successful season if they've lost that league final and not do anything really in the All Ireland series. Of course, we will see what happens, but you would fancy them to go ahead and beat Cork in this game by a couple of points. Stephen O'Brien as well, I think, is a good player. They weren't great in their game against Clare last time out, but you would have to say that Kerry do have enough and will win this game by 6 or 7 points. And then, of course, guys, let's move on to Donegal versus Cavan. Yeah, huge game between these two counties, especially for Cavan. This is their first Ulster final since 2001, which, of course, is a huge achievement for Cavan. For Donegal, of course, on the other hand, Ulster champions last year. Once again, they are in an Ulster final. Of course, they won the Division 2 championship or league earlier in the season. So this is a side coming into this game with so much confidence. Their win versus Tyrone was absolutely fantastic. Some of the performances they had out on the pitch, of course, players like Patrick McBrearty. You've got the experience and the leadership and quality, of course, in Michael Murphy, who undoubtedly is probably one of the best midfielders in the game of Gaelic football at the moment. And Donegal, at the moment, they're not just looking like serious contenders for the Ulster Championship. Of course, they're looking like contenders possibly for an All-Ireland Championship. You definitely cannot bet against them. outstanding performance in that game versus Tyrone. The fact that their management was very much able to change up their style of play, revert back to the sort of defensive style system, but also capitalise very well on the counter attack and going forward, I thought was really impressive for me. Of course, though, Cavan do have a lot in their arsenal. Going forward, they are a very good side. Players like Martin Riley, very good player. Specifically in that game against Armagh, I thought he was very good. Derek McVeety, of course, probably the standout player versus Armagh in the replay. Some of the points he hit, and the way Cavan attack at speed, I think is very good in my opinion. Some of their build-up play, I think, is very good. And even looking at Keane Mackey as well, when you're bringing a player like him off the bench, he can definitely make a difference. And it should be very intriguing to see what happens with Cavan. I don't think they'd be too disappointed if they lost this game, but I do think that they have, I think missing out on the Super 8s might be a disappointment, but I think when you look at, given the start of the season, of course, being relegated from Division 1, which was very much expected, but I think then if you were to factor that in with narrowly missing out on a Super 8s place, I don't think that's too bad for Cavan, but I do still think that they do have a chance. A lot just depends on how the season pans out in many respects. In terms of this game between Cavan and Donegal, I'm expecting a close game. I'm expecting a good game of football. I think Donegal will come out and play football once again. Look, listen, they did play football in that game versus Tyrone, but they certainly weren't their fluent attacking set themselves, as they have been in previous games, of course. So, specifically, I'm looking at that league final win over Meath. But yeah, I would expect them to have too much for Cavan, in my opinion. I think defensively, they'll shut Cavan out. I think midfield-wise, they just have a bit too much with Michael Murphy in there. And of course, going forward then as well, they should just have too much. Jamie Brennan, of course, great performance by him in that game against Tyrone, hitting a goal and 3 points. So, yeah, guys, I am going to go with a Donegal victory. I feel like they will have too much for Cavan. Cavan will probably stick with Donegal throughout the majority of the first half and the early part of the second half, but I do think that Donegal eventually will have too much and pull away and win this game by 4 points. So, yeah, guys, that has been my prediction for both the Munster final and the Ulster final. Do let me know down in the comments below what you guys think will happen. And of course, my name has been Aaron, and I will catch you all next time.